Hi, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Dan Chappelle, and today we welcome Mr. Adam Martindale of Cruise Planners. How you doing today, Adam?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great, and welcome to the show. So let me just tell you how Adam and I have been connected on Facebook for a couple of years, and he was mentioning that he read my book a few years ago, and uh, but he'd made a post that he had joined the Cruise Planners Millionaires Club just a couple of weeks ago, middle of June, in all of this. Um, Pandemic, when everyone's panicking and everybody's worried about how their business is going. Adam's business is actually growing, and he's growing enough to where he's put $1 million on the books this year. So Adam, why don't you give us a little bit of info about yourself, how you got into the business, and what brings you, what brought you to Cruise Planners?
Sure. I started, well, basically, I've been in hospitality all my life. I started working on cruise ships when I was 19 years old for Carnival Cruise Lines when they had 3 ships. Back in '85, I worked on the festival, Mardi Gras, Carnival, and was with them for 10 years, basically in its infancy. I was there at a great time when the cruising was growing like crazy. So I got promoted very fast. I was food and beverage director with them at 23 years old, and got to bring out ships from Finland and Sweden. So I did that for 10 years, which was a great experience. Left ships altogether for 10 years and worked in hotels and resorts. And then decided to go back to ships again. And was a friend of mine actually working for me when I was at the Fontainebleau Hilton in Miami. He was a beverage manager and was working for Norwegian and contacted me. They were looking for someone to bring out the Pride of America from Germany. And they were looking for someone with US experience and cruise ship experience. So I thought about going back again. I interviewed with them and flew to Germany and set that ship up and brought that out all the way to Hawaii, and then worked on Pride of Hawaii and was with them for 4 years. Left ships again. Thought I would never go back. And then I was living in San Diego at the time, and then worked for a couple other hotel companies, Lowe's and now Ritz-Carlton. And the hotel got sold. I moved back to San Diego, and then I was thinking about what business I wanted to start, and being in hospitality and travel, it just seemed like a natural fit to start my own travel company. But I wanted to get luxury experience because I didn't have that on cruise ships. So reached out to someone I knew who worked for Apollo, who managed all the food and beverage for Oceania and Regent. Interviewed with them and got hired right away, and worked for Oceania and Regent for 2 years, which was an amazing experience, and got to travel to a lot of parts of the world I'd never been to before. Africa, Asia, India, all over that part of the world. And then 2015, before that, I put the business plan together, figured out what I was going to do, and started my business full time in 2015 with Cruise Planners.
Fantastic. So what drew you to a franchise versus just starting out on your own?
So I did research before and kind of was looking at what the advantages and disadvantages were. And I didn't want to do everything myself. I didn't think it made sense to start from scratch. Like when all the procedures, all the back office stuff is there with a franchise, especially with Cruise Planners. Having American Express as well, being affiliated with them, was something that attracted me by having that name with Cruise Planners. I met somebody on the ships who knew somebody at Cruise Planners. That's kind of how I got introduced to Cruise Planners. I didn't do a ton of research on different franchise companies, to be honest, but I'm really, really happy that I ended up with Cruise Planners, and they've been really great to work with. And I'm very, very happy with the partnership that I have with them.
That's fantastic. It's a great organization, and I think one of the reasons why, and part of what we talk about on this show is folks that start out and try to do everything on their own versus those that want a kind of a system that's already set up to help them so that they can focus on doing what they were doing. So you got started 5 years ago. You have fantastic experience, and obviously that prepared you extremely well for this. I know from my time working on the ships, once I decided I was going to operate a cruise agency, I, instead of going out and, hanging out with everybody at the bar when we were on shore, I was taking tours. I was learning. I was getting to know the destinations that we're going. So that really prepares you and turns you into an expert going along. And that luxury experience, I think, has served you well with this, because you're now in your third year as a millionaire.
Next year will be the third year. Yeah.
Next year will be the third year. So, folks, in 5 years in business, 3 years doing $1 million plus in business is quite the accomplishment. How'd you get started? How did you build that base to get yourself there?
Yeah, so I started basically with friends and family, I think the way that most people do, and you try and, let everyone know what you're doing. I've lived in quite a few places, which helped me, I think, for sure, living in Miami, being from England originally, living in Seattle, Santa Barbara, Long Beach for a while, now San Diego for 10 years. So kind of been around a little bit. So I have friends and, in quite a few places, which was a big help. And also having the experience on the ships, I could reach out to people from all over the world, which was a huge help for me too. But I basically started to get to know the business development managers for all the cruise lines, for travel companies that I could. I went to every event that I could to learn more about the business. I mean, I spent money, that I didn't really have in the beginning to try and exhibit here and exhibit there, and let's go do this, let's try that. Some things worked, some things didn't. But, out of all the different things you try, I mean, you get clients here and there, and the word of mouth comes out. I joined the University Club, which is the high-end business networking club in San Diego. That was, pretty expensive to join, but I ended up doing a travel expo there every year now for the last 4 years. And I've got some amazing clients from that. So things, you just have to try a lot of different things and see what works. Now I'm very selective on what I do, where I can afford to do that now. But in the beginning, I did everything I could. I mean, every event that was put out to me or I went after looking for, I did, and see what worked.
So were you just kind of took the shotgun approach on that, or did you have a specific type of client in mind that you were targeting from a prospect standpoint?
So in the beginning, I didn't really, it was kind of more of a shotgun. I mean, I didn't really have a focus. Like it took me, I don't know why it took me a while. It took me probably a year to figure out I was going to specialize in something. So when I decided to specialize, it was food and wine, which is my background is all food and beverage. So I was like, how come I didn't think of that before? So it was specialized in luxury food and wine travel, which seemed to make total sense with my background. So that's what I started to do, partnering with wineries and chefs and going after the luxury groups and luxury clientele and doing luxury events. And that's really what's helped me a lot with my business.
So you've been able to drill your niche down over fairly quickly, I would think, the way it sounds, if probably within the first year that, taking a little bit of everything is not the right approach. It's more to be focused and get kind of narrow on who your clients are, what type of experience you're trying to do. And you have the background for that, obviously. You prepared yourself well for that. So you have that niche.
It did take longer than I thought, though, to figure it out. That's one thing I would definitely suggest to people, figure that out right away. Don't wait, too long to figure out what you're going to do. And you can't be a master of everything. You got to specialize in something.
Right. So, and you were able to drill that down pretty quickly. And that's, I think that's great advice for folks that are, whether you've been doing this for a while or you're just kind of floundering out there, or you're just brand new into it. Figure it out. It's just like any business. There's a lot of different travel products you can sell, and you can't be all things to all people. So figure out what it is that you want to do and who you want to be, and find that niche. And have you found that niche has really served you well in your time?
Oh, definitely. I would say 70% of my clients are luxury. I just found out that I'm the #1 top producer for Oceania with cruise planners.
Cool.
So I sell the most Oceania cruises with them, which I do a lot of groups as well. Doing groups is what's built my business too. So I actually travel with all my groups. So that's been a big part of it. traveling with the groups, getting to know the people, having dinner with them on board, having drinks with them, and then you generate that relationship with them, and then they start booking after other things with you, and then they refer their friends to you, and so that's kind of how that's all happened.
Yeah,
And
and that shipboard experience is, of hosting tables, and it's certainly paid off in that regard for sure.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't be where I was if I didn't have the groups, if I didn't do all the groups that I decided to focus on.
So, in light of the with COVID and everything else, and how the inventory is going to be reduced from and let's, since cruising is luxury cruising your niche, let's kind of focus on that. Obviously there's social distancing. There's different travel things that are going to take place. Some ships have already started. I think Sea Dream's already started sailing in Norway, but others are going to start coming online outside of North America. Um, how does that affect your group business?
So I don't really know yet. I mean, the groups that I had for this year, luckily I was able to react pretty fast when this all happened. I had a group that was supposed to sail in April, a group that was supposed to sail in May, and pretty decent sized groups. One was on Azamara, one was on Oceania. And I managed to react soon enough to find another cruise next year, do another event with them before this all went down south big time. And then we got them 90% rebooked for next year. So I was really glad that I got that done, because that would have been a bit of a disaster if
Sure.
they all canceled. I don't know size wise. Most of my groups are between 30 and 40 people, so they're not huge groups.
Right.
I do food and wine groups, so we don't want humongous groups. I mean, I did one for 90 people once in 2018. That was the biggest I've ever done, which was great on Oceania. But most of my groups are 30 to 40 people. So I think those size groups will still be fine.
So the groups, most of your business obviously is international. It's with cruises. So just looking at this from a reality standpoint, most of that business is out for 21 and 22 at this point. Are you doing anything for immediate cash flow? Anything tactical, like putting together food and beverage or food and wine groups domestically?
I have the next group I have coming up is in October on Virgin,
Mm-hmm.
on the new ship, which I'm really hoping sails on October 21st. I have a group. I also have another niche that I do. I do LGBT groups as well.
Okay.
So I do food and wine, and I do LGBT, and they kind of mix together sometimes as well. So
Very much so. And
that's one niche that I have as well. I work with. I found actually a company online a few years ago that didn't book travel, and they just advertised and focused on LGBT cruising. So I ended up partnering with them and became their sole travel agent.
oh,
So
cool.
I've done a few groups with them too. So the next one in October is on Virgin with that group. We have it's a small group, 20 people,
Uh-huh.
but most of us have seats. So I'm really hoping that that ship sails. And
Yeah,
I'm supposed to have another one in October too on Regent, but I'm doubtful that's going to sail out of LA.
yeah. I mean, speaking from experience, let me put my supplier hat on from being at Windstar. Most of our charters, when we did charters that weren't corporate related, tended to be they were LBGT, they were food and wine, pretty much across the board. Those outside of the corporate events that we did were those were the charters, and they were small enough that kind of to your point, up to about 40 people, you could take one of these smaller ships with 150 people and typically fill that pretty easily and
Right.
do kind of well out of that. I think it's so people overlook some of these niches. They focus on the big ones and not necessarily the more lucrative. One of the things you have to look at, and I think you'll agree with this, is it's one thing to have a niche, but it's another to make money off of that niche.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And to be able to relate to that niche and know that niche well is I think vital to do that. So what are you currently doing from a sales marketing perspective to keep things full? I mean, obviously I mean, third year in a row you've hit millionaire status with Cruise Planner, and you did it in the midst of basically the big sucking. I call it the big sucking sound, like you flush the toilet. Everything you've had on the books before is just getting sucked
Right.
back in, and instead of instead of coming out and being fruitful. How are you prospering through all of this? What are you doing to make that happen?
I think for part of some of the reason I got the millionaire status for next year was a lot of my clients rebooked stuff for next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've had quite a lot of new bookings actually as well. So people are just looking, they really want to get away.
So
And the
your repeat
bookings that
business is really strong.
what's that?
Your repeat business is really strong.
Yeah, it is. It is. And also groups as well, again. So like I said, I have those two groups that I managed to rebook for next year. And then I have new groups that I'm putting together for next year right now.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for 22 now as well for groups.
So how do you typically get new business? Is it funneled in through the groups? Is it through referrals, or are you doing marketing of any kind?
New business now is coming in a lot through repeat business and through friends of clients that I have and people that I've met before. I do a lot of Facebook. My social media stuff is mostly on Facebook.
Right.
I'm actually just in the process of hiring someone just to do all my marketing, which I've talked about this for quite a while, and it's a lot to manage by yourself when you start getting this busy, between Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube videos and this and that. And there's so many things that I want to do better. And
Mm-hmm.
Cruise Planners, there's a lot of tools there that help. But if you don't manage it yourself or have someone looking at it all the time, then it's really easy to get behind with all that.
I think you just brought up a really good point, is that you can't do everything yourself. If you're a practitioner of Michael Gerber's E-Myth, he talks about everybody. We have a bunch of hats that we wear. We have our sales hat, our operations hat, our marketing, social media, bathroom cleaning hat, all the hats that are out there. And I think that says a lot for you, that you've recognized that, you've gotten to a point where, because I've noticed even just today, I think before we even came on, and we're both on the West Coast, and we came on at 10:30 our time. I think you'd already posted at least 3 times
Right.
this morning.
Right.
So, and I do it twice a week, and I know how time consuming it can be. So.
Yeah. And I found that my clients really, I'm putting a lot of useful information out there, and a lot of my clients are really like that.
So what do you specifically use social media for?
To promote my groups. I use it. I try and tie it in with if the cruise line's announcing something about them, then I'll tie it in with a group that I'm doing on that cruise line, and post the information that they posted. Like Virgin just came out with their protocols for what they're doing for COVID.
Right.
So instead of just posting that, I would post, that, but I would also in the title put, join us on our next group cruise on Virgin October 21st. Look what they're doing now, blah, blah, blah. So I would I'd always tie it in with what I'm doing, or anything that I can put together there. And then a lot of information, like Hawaii today announced that they're going to do COVID testing starting August 1st. And a lot of people are really interested in going to Hawaii. So any information on not just selling stuff, but a lot of informational things.
So more engagement.
Yeah, and where you become more of an expert, I think, when you see all that you're posting all this information out there, rather than just trying to sell something.
Yeah. It's the credibility factor. It's what and we talk about this a lot in the episodes, is becoming the go-to person for your niche. And you do that by establishing the credibility. And it's not, as you're doing, it's not always just creating all your own content. It's sharing stuff that's already out there, whether it's from Virgin or Oceania or Regent or what have you. You're putting it out there and then just adding your 2 cents in there and doing it on a consistent basis.
Right.
Or more so is the key to that there.
I mean, the general public's not looking at travel all day long, or getting emails all day long about what's happening in the travel world, especially right now.
Yeah.
So more things like, you don't want to post too much that people get turned off, but the stuff that's important, they want to see that.
So how let's go back to kind of the business part of this. How focused on selling are you in your business versus some of the other non-revenue generating things?
So I would say that I'm selling
More, I think more consultative selling is what I do.
Uh-huh.
I'm not really, I mean, I'm definitely promoting what I'm doing, promoting especially the groups. I'm promoting that big time as much as I can. When I partner with somebody with the winery, I want to make sure that they're promoting it and selling it, and it's a partnership together. So that I have to really make sure that's happening from the selling side. But from my clients that I have now, that they look to me to, they want my advice and trying to figure out which cruise and why they should do this cruise as opposed to that cruise, or if they should do land and which resort, so there's a lot of, I think it's more consultative selling rather than the hard, I'm not doing the hard sell so much.
You're not focused on price.
Not really. I mean,
Yeah.
there are people definitely. I have clients that are focused on price. I can't say that, even a lot of the luxury clients are focused on price. They want value. They
Yeah.
don't
They
want
want
to,
everything.
yeah, they don't just want to spend their money because they have it. They want to know, what they're getting for it.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's there's a lot to be said for that. It's people just sometimes make the assumption that because people are paying a lot, $30,000 instead of $3,000 for something, there's just an extra zero in there, that it's because they have the money. And I've actually found in my experience that they tend to pay a lot more attention to it,
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
what they're getting for their money, than those that are necessarily, spending $3,000. They want to.
Yeah, and some of those clients will come, they'll bring it up to you. Well, I thought there was $175 discount for booking this cruise. It was $35,000. I'm like, oh yeah, let me check on that for you.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
check
I
on
guess
that for you.
one of my clients had told me one time, he says, Danny boy, I don't mind you making a little money, but I don't want you getting fat either.
Yeah, yeah. No, you gotta make sure their interest is all the clients' interests are taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're not focused on, well, particularly with your groups and stuff, you're adding the value with the chefs and the dining experiences and things like that, that are hard to shop.
Yeah,
Uh,
so we put together packages with short, we do 2 to 3 short excursions as well that are
yeah.
typically included. We'll include a lot of other things that, again, like you said, you can't just price that out separately, or you could try and do that, but most of the people that I get would rather have the all-inclusive package.
Right, right. And I think it's to our listeners' point, it doesn't always have to be a group either. It can be, you can package your, you have to stand out. You have to do, we all have the ability to sell exactly the same products out there. So what are you going to do differently about it to become known in your business? And I think you've done a good job of that with packaging all of that together. Let's talk about failure for a second, because we always hear the good stuff. We always hear, you see up on stage collecting the awards and all of that kind of stuff. But what people forget is there's a lot of tripping and tumbling along the way to get there. When you tell us a little bit about, sometimes that you've had a few slip ups in building your business.
Yeah, I think mainly I spent a lot of money, in the beginning on different events that were kind of a waste of time. I looked at it and thought, oh my God, this is an amazing opportunity to, all these thousands of people are going to come and I'm going to be able to, get a lot of clients. And I spent, a lot, $1,000 or whatever, and you end up getting 200 leads that are a complete waste of time.
Right.
So I've done quite a few of those events. I don't do some of the big travel shows anymore because I haven't really found that's my market, where people are just shopping price basically. What
Mm-hmm.
can you do for me? I want $50 less on the cruise, or can I get onboard credit, or whatever it is. Or they're looking for something that you can give them.
Yeah.
So I think talking about a little bit of what I already talked about, but just I've done a lot of events and I kind of tried to do everything. Some of them worked, some didn't. And spending money on afterwards, you look at it and go, well, that was kind of a waste of time. But you learn, through doing these events, which ones you probably don't want to do again, or which ones you want to focus on.
Well, and I think that's a key thing too, is the learnings that come from it. It's not that you wasted a bunch of money. It's like you spent some money learning something.
Right. Yeah. You got to look at it that way for sure. For sure.
Particularly when the sting is pretty tough. It's
Yeah, I mean, print advertising too. I spent a lot of money on print advertising that I thought was the perfect demographic for me. Thousands of dollars a month for 6 months in this high-end magazine and, in California. And I got nothing out of it, not
yeah.
one booking.
Yeah. I had a similar experience. It wasn't until it was with Texas Monthly Magazine, which is a very popular magazine in the state of Texas, and they had approached me about buying advertising, and I wasn't obviously. It was just a tremendous amount of money, and I knew I had a feeling like you did. I knew that we wouldn't get much out of it, and one of their writers bought a trip from us and put a little blurb, like 4 sentences, and that editorial got so much business coming in. It was just unbelievable. That's the difference between paid advertising and getting your name in print through an editorial. So, maybe concentrating the resources in that direction can be a better payoff as far as the value goes from there.
Yeah, I think with a print now, I won't do anything unless I partner with a cruise line and get co-op money for it, for the ad.
Right.
And it has to be some type of group cruise as well involved with that magazine or with their readers to do
So
it.
let's talk about co-op for a minute, because it's actually a subject that, believe it or not, I think you and I probably take it for granted, but a lot of people don't know that much about it, that there are funds available out there to help you promote different events. Do you work with one or two particular suppliers on that, or is it strictly associated with your groups when you're doing co-op?
No, so I do, well, with the groups, I do events with the cruise line, which I get co-op money for. Sometimes I'll partner up and do like a cruise night with the winery, and the cruise line will come do a presentation, and then they'll pay for the food and wine. Sometimes I do it myself if they can't make it, and then they still pay for 50%. I pay for 50%.
Right.
With events that I do, like I've done that high-end luxury expo at the University Club downtown San Diego for the last 3 years now. And I have about 8 vendors there who all pay the University Club to be there. And I don't pay anything, and I get all the bookings out of it. So that's a great win-win for me.
Yeah.
They get to pay $500 to present or $250 to have a table. And then whatever bookings come, they all come to me. And it's an event for the travel club at the University Club.
That's awesome. And that's how you get creative about using co-op. It's not just a 50-50 for advertising. It's events. It's part of your group budget that you put together, and you build it out for the promotional standpoint of it. I love that. I love that idea about that. So you're 5 years in, you're 3 years in the Millionaires Club. You're going to hire somebody to handle your social media marketing. You got any growth plans? You're looking to grow out of this?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting time. Obviously, a year ago, well, just over a year ago, I moved into an office and I hired an admin. And then when this all happened, I moved out of my office and lost my admin. So it's been kind of a growth and then a decrease of kind of what I've done for the growth. But I'm in that mode now again, where I need to figure out if I want to go back into an office, if I'm just going to stay at home. If I need to hire an admin again, I have 3 associates right now. They're not really doing much business at the moment. So I need to get with them and see if they're focused or not. And then maybe you look for another associate.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see if when I get my marketing person on board, see what I can do with him. And then also with the associate, I'm trying to figure out if I want to get one person to focus on the LGBT side of the business. Maybe I focus on just on the business development side. So I got a few things I'm thinking about doing, but I haven't got a clear direction yet of where I'm going with that.
Yeah. Well, now's a good time to start getting your head around it, because
I
coming
know.
out of this, I think you
Yeah.
can, you can, if you set yourself up, sky's the limit, because it sounds like you got a great core base to work from. And, it's for a lot of our listeners, it's okay. They look at people that are in your position and think, well, I got there, I want to be like him. I'm just getting started, or I've been into this for a while and I'm stagnated. I can't get anywhere. What do I do? How do I get there? How do I get up on that stage? And I think you talked a little bit about that, in that, throwing a lot against the wall, see what sticks, starting with friends and family, and starting to build your business off of there. But more importantly, it didn't happen overnight.
No, and traveling a lot too. I didn't mention I've spent a lot of my own money, going on travel and going on fam trips and going on cruise lines that I haven't been on before. I mean, there's still quite a few cruise lines I have never been on, and I really need to get on them because
Hmm.
I hate that answer to a client, have you been on this cruise line? I'm like, "Oh, no, not yet, but I hear it's great." I hate saying that, but I hear it's great. So I really want to get on as many as I can so I can experience them.
So when you do that, did you, and granted things are kind of in at a pause mode right now, but did you do that on your own and just pay the agent rate, or did you typically take the organized fam with everybody else?
Different. I've done a lot of FAMs. Mostly, none of the FAMs are on cruises, actually. Most of the FAMs are on land because I've been trying to grow my land business
Uh-huh.
because I really focused on cruises heavily. So I did a FAM trip to Africa with South African Airline Vacation, which was
Nice.
amazing. Got to do a safari down there and went to all the wine area, which is amazing. I was in China last year with Tauk. I did a FAM with them in December, right before the whole COVID thing happened. It's good timing to go and come back. So Beijing and Shanghai and Hong Kong, which was amazing. I've done FAM down to Mexico to check out all the inclusive resorts in Riviera Maya with pleasant holidays. So a lot of things like that that I've didn't really know a lot about and educated myself. I spent money to do it. I mean, I didn't spend as much as I would have, obviously, to go by myself and pay regular rates. I've been on Disney out of San Diego, Disney Cruise, which I'd never been on before. And they had a 3-day cruise out of San Diego. So I paid the full price just to go on it and
Uh-huh.
experience it because I have clients that book Disney with their families and I had no idea what it was like. So that was an investment in my business, which I'm really glad that I did. It was 3 days. It was perfect. 3 days
Yeah.
with kids. Not
Yeah, and I think you just use a great word there because fam trips aren't just cheap vacations. They're not just big party stuff. It's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in your business to learn. You spent 20 something years on ships, but there's a lot of them that are still out there that you've probably seen passing in the night, but have never actually had that experience on. And I really appreciate that perspective of you don't know it all yet.
No, I
And
mean, yeah, I haven't sailed on Crystal yet. I haven't sailed on Seabourn yet, and I haven't sailed on Silver Sea, which is crazy. I need to get on those ships.
yeah, well, I will tell you of all the ships I've been on, the Seabourn Odyssey was the one ship that I will tell you did not want to get off of when the cruise was over.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
That was yeah, I know what people see in that who a lot of agents will look at the price of it and are afraid to sell it, but believe me, you get somebody on a Seabourn cruise or a Regent or a Silver Sea, or Crystal, you've got them hooked.
Right.
They're there. They tend not to go backwards. So let's start wrapping up here. I always finish with two questions. The first one is, what are three things you wish you had known before you started in your business that you know now?
I think number one is to focus on a niche right away. I think we talked about that a little bit,
Right?
but it took me, way longer than it should have to figure that out. So focus on a niche and really educate yourself on that niche. People ask me about that all the time, about how you've done so well or what did you do? I said, well, if maybe you don't have a food and beverage background, maybe you like Alaska, well, go to Alaska, sail on every cruise that goes to Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
get to know that product and be an Alaska expert. There's lots of things you can do. Second, figure out kind of get prepared for how long it might take you to make money in the beginning. So it doesn't come right away. It takes at least 2 years. But the third year is really when I started to make money.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that. It is a long road in the beginning, but you got to see that light, at the end of the tunnel. And then number three, I think, was when to ask for help and get an accountant involved with your business. I think I was lucky that I did it at the right time when I saw that my business was building and the revenues were building, and I realized I needed some help financially. So I got an accountant to help, and I'm so glad that I did.
Oh, having professional, whether it's lawyers or accountants, if you get a good one that understands travel accounting in particular, can just make a world of difference in how much money you end up in your back pocket versus paying out to somebody else.
Yeah, no, it's been a big help.
I'm a big proponent of that. And then to your second point, um, it is about 3 years. That's been my experience as well. You know, the first year you're just kind of getting started. Second year you're really starting to get some momentum, and third year is where it really starts to take off. But of the three things that you mentioned, I'm surprised it took you as long as it did, and a year is actually pretty quick. But with your background, to really focus in on what your niche was.
Right, right.
I mean, it sounds like you had to, you almost had to do all the distractions first before you said, "Oh yeah, okay, now I know what I really want to do and what
Yeah,
I should do."
I think I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't really focus on it as much as I should have.
So was that maybe out of fear, FOMO, fear of missing out? You might miss a commission off of something that you're not really specializing in, just for that kind of thing, or what do you think that might have been?
I think it may have been that I didn't really know how to go about it, and where I should start, which people to contact and groups to put together, because that was the big thing, putting groups together, and working on that, which took quite a while.
Yeah.
So I think that might have been the thing that took a bit longer than I thought.
Yeah, I think you and I experienced some of the same things. You know, coming off of ships, we knew the product, we knew how to deliver it, we knew what the service should be and what it was, and then coming into the travel side of the booking side of it, there's a learning curve there as well, and
Right.
that takes a little time
Oh,
too.
that's another thing. I mean, there's so much information out there. I mean, that's another, if you ask for four things, I mean, the fourth thing is be prepared for how much information you got to learn, and how, I mean, it's the product knowledge is overwhelming. There's so much stuff to know about every single product. You have to really keep on top of all that.
Yeah, and that's why it helps to figure out what your niche is first and focus on that, and then build out from there.
Yeah.
So I think those are three incredible answers to that question, because I think that is that's key. I think those three things are key. Last question, because everybody has their own definition of what this is. What is your definition of what the wealthy travel agent is?
I would say that wealth's created by knowledge and constantly learning and being able to pass that on to my clients. When I can become the expert, my clients really start to look at me and put their trust in me to spend their money, and that's where I become a wealthy travel agent, because I've put that out there and they feel comfortable spending $20,000, $40,000, $60,000 on a trip with me, and know they're going to be taken care of.
Well, and I think what that does is that takes you from being, and it's the wealthy travel agent because that's the domain I have, but it's also the difference between being an agent and an advisor.
Right.
And as the industry has changed the vernacular to advisor, the public tends to think of still as a travel agent, but there are different levels of that. You're definitely up there at the advisor level. I think you've done fantastic. Well, Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fantastic visiting with you and learning, what you've done to get to where you are. And folks, you can tune in to the Wealthy Travel Agent podcast on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, every podcast platform that's out there, you can listen to it. It's out there. So thanks so much. And everybody, let's go out and make some money.
Thank you.